I still remember the way the envelope felt in my hand, cold, perfunctory, like a form letter from someone who didn't care whether you showed up or not. It didn't even have my name handwritten on it. Just a printed label, Ms. R. Delane. No personal note. No call before, no message after. It was my sister's wedding. I stared at the off-white cardstock, trying to convince myself that maybe she was just busy, or overwhelmed, or, God forbid, maybe she thought I wouldn't want to come. But that was a lie I couldn't even sell to myself, because I'd been there for every other big day in her life, from her first piano recital to the day she bombed her college interview and cried in my arms. I even remember helping her rehearse the words she used when she accepted the proposal. "He's the only one who sees the real me," she had said. But somehow, the real me wasn't welcome anymore. The return address on the invitation wasn't hers. It was her fiancé's mother's estate, on Rosewater Drive, a place that looked like it had never once smelled like real roses. My stomach knotted, a feeling I knew all too well. Still, I decided to go. Not out of obligation, and definitely not for her new in-laws. I went because deep down, despite everything, I hoped the day might stitch something back together. Maybe she'd see me in the crowd and run up with tears in her eyes. Maybe she'd whisper, "I'm sorry, I just didn't know how to fix it." I even bought a gift, not a blender, not cash in a card. No, I went too far, as always. I bought them a deposit on a small 2-bedroom condo near the beach, a place she once said she dreamed of escaping to whenever life got too heavy. I used my bonus from last quarter. It wasn't smart, it wasn't necessary, but it felt like love. And I didn't have many other ways to say it anymore. A week before the wedding I tried calling her, no answer. I texted, "Let me know if you need help with anything. Dresses, flowers, playlist?" Nothing. On the morning of the wedding, I stood in front of my closet with that dumb sense of dread and hope braided tightly together. I picked the blue silk dress she'd once complimented, said it brought out the softness in me, the part I always hid under sarcasm and tired jokes. I drove 2 hours alone to the venue. It was a grand estate, the kind with marble fountains and perfectly hedged lies. Guests in designer suits wandered around holding champagne. I looked for my sister's face just once, hoping maybe this was all in my head. Instead, I was greeted by her fiancé's mother, Pamela. Pamela didn't shake my hand. She glanced down at my shoes and said, "Ah, you must be Rachel. You'll be seated out on the veranda. The ceremony's quite full, out on the veranda, not inside the hall, not among the family, not even close enough to hear her say, 'I do.' Just outside." Pamela turned to walk away, then paused with a smile that wasn't really a smile. "You understand, family's complicated." I stood there for a moment, unsure if I should cry or laugh or scream, but instead, I nodded, like a damn good guest, and as I followed the usher to my little white folding chair under the blistering sun, I couldn't stop hearing that word again and again. Complicated. She used it like a curtain to cover a crime scene. What I didn't know then was that they hadn't simply forgotten me. I had been intentionally placed out there, like something they didn't want to deal with. Like a relic from a life she'd outgrown. But relics have a funny way of remembering everything, and sometimes they come back sharper than anyone expects. I should have left. I should have turned around the second I saw that chair with my name, well, not my name, just guest, Rachel Delane, sitting out in the open air like it was waiting for someone they hoped wouldn't show up. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down and folded my hands in my lap like a polite shadow. My blue silk dress stuck to my thighs in the heat, and the curls I'd spent hours doing began to droop. Guests in chiffon and champagne laughed inside the glass walls. From where I sat, I couldn't hear the music, I couldn't even see the altar. But I could see Pamela. She floated through the room like she owned the very air. She wore a pearl-white sheath dress, pristine, tight, not a hair out of place. Every time someone looked her way, she smiled as if she had single-handedly birthed royalty. At one point her eyes drifted to me through the glass, and she smiled, not the kind you offer when you see someone you care about, not even the forced, social kind. It was a smile with teeth. A warning. A challenge. And I smiled back, the way a wounded animal smiles, tight-lipped and on the verge of bite or break. 15 minutes passed, then 30. No one came to check on me. No one offered a drink or shade or even a damn napkin. I started to wonder if maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe I wasn't even supposed to be here. But then, through the faint crack of a side window, I heard her voice. My sister. Laughing. It was the laugh I hadn't heard in person for over a year. It used to be the background music of our childhood. Bright, reckless, familiar. But now, hearing it so far away, and with none of it directed at me, it felt like a ghost. A reminder that something sacred had died between us. I swallowed hard. And that's when I saw her. She stepped into view like a vision pulled straight from the pages of a magazine. White lace, cathedral veil, bouquet trembling in her hands. Everyone turned to look. Everyone stood. I didn't. No one noticed. She looked radiant, yes, but also different. Sharper. Like she'd been carved into the bride they all wanted her to be. A version of her that knew which fork to use and how to say thank you without meaning it. I expected her to scan the crowd, to look for me. But she didn't. She never looked my way once. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wouldn't give them that. Not her, not Pamela, not any of them. Instead, I reached for my phone and scrolled through old photos of us. The beach trip where she got sunburned and I gave her my hoodie. Her graduation where I screamed louder than our own parents. Her 25th birthday when I baked the lemon cake from scratch because she hated store-bought frosting. I still had that recipe saved in my notes app. Stupid, right? I didn't notice someone approach until their shadow fell over my feet. A server. Mid-20s. Polite, awkward. Sorry, miss. We were told not to serve drinks out here. Not to serve, like I was a risk, a threat, or maybe just a stain on the perfect photograph. I nodded, lips pressed tight. Not your fault, I said, even though my voice cracked. He hesitated. Do you need anything? Yes, I needed a sister who remembered who I was before the dresses and the pearls and the man who called me the outspoken one, but all I said was, no, I'm good. He walked away. I stayed seated, and for the first time, I didn't want to go inside anymore. I just wanted out of this wedding, out of this version of family, out of pretending that I didn't feel like a prop in a memory someone else was rewriting. And as I sat there, blue dress ruined, hair frizzed, throat dry, I realized something. They didn't just forget me. They erased me. But I was never one to stay invisible for long. It wasn't always like this. I know how easy it is to assume that families fall apart over years of conflict, buried grudges, and 1,000 paper cuts. But ours felt more like someone flipped a switch and left the room. We used to be two halves of the same breath. Growing up, my sister and I shared everything. A tiny room with mismatched sheets, late-night stories whispered under covers, secrets about our parents' fights we never dared say aloud during the day. She was the softer one. I was the shield, and I liked it that way. I still remember the night she broke up with Jason, her high school boyfriend turned controlling mess of a man. She showed up at my apartment with mascara streaks down her face and no shoes. Just sobs. I didn't ask questions. I wrapped her in a blanket, made her grilled cheese, and let her fall asleep with her head on my lap. I wish someone would just see me, she whispered that night. Not who they think I am, me. And I did. I always did. That's why it hurt when she started to pull away. It wasn't sudden, it was subtle, like how the tide recedes quietly before a storm. First it was the late replies, then missed birthdays. Eventually our conversations turned into exchanges of emojis, and we should catch up soon, texts that never happened. I blamed work, stress, her new life. And when she got serious with Tyler, the fiancé, I told myself it made sense. New love rewrites priorities. But it didn't explain the look he gave me the first time we met. The kind of smirk people wear when they've already decided you're too much before you even speak. He didn't like that I had opinions, that I asked direct questions, that I dared say the word prenup at dinner and didn't flinch. Pamela, his mother, hated me even more. She called me difficult within 20 minutes of meeting me. I wore flats instead of heels. I ordered beer instead of wine. I dared to mention that marriage is more than Instagram-worthy centerpieces. That you should know each other's debts before picking napkin color. After that dinner, my sister stopped inviting me to anything. Still, I kept hoping. Maybe she just needed space. Maybe she was trying to impress the people around her. I'd seen her do that before, shapeshift to fit the room. But I thought I was the one place she didn't have to do that. I was wrong. A few months before the wedding, I asked her if we could have a proper talk, just you and me, I said, like before. Her reply was a single text, "I'm too busy lately, let's wait until after the wedding, yeah?" But weddings aren't walls you build to keep people out. They're bridges, or at least they should be. I spent days agonizing over the gift. I could have gone with a check, a registry item, but I remembered that conversation from years ago. Her saying how badly she wanted a place of her own, a place that didn't have anyone's name on the lease but hers. So I found it, a beachside condo, small, but filled with light, a perfect start. I didn't expect gratitude, I just hoped she'd understand it wasn't about the money, it was about proving that no matter how far we drifted, I still knew her dreams. But now, sitting on a folding chair like an outsider at her wedding, I felt like a fool. A fool in silk. A fool who gave a palace to someone who wouldn't even offer her a seat at the table. I looked up again through the glass, they were clapping now, she'd said, "I do." It was done, she was his now, or maybe theirs. The price of entry into their world was silence, submission, and the rewriting of history. And I, apparently, was history. But a part of me whispered, if they want to erase you, make sure they never forget you first. I don't know what I expected when I handed the envelope to the concierge. Maybe a thank you, maybe a shocked phone call, maybe even an awkward whispered, "Why did you do this?" followed by a hug and a tear or two. But I didn't expect silence. The envelope had been thick, property paperwork, deposit confirmation, a card that read, "For the place you once dreamed of, may it be yours now on your new journey." I'd drawn a little star at the bottom, something we used to do on notes passed under our bedroom door. It wasn't just money, it was memory, history, proof. A week before the wedding, I had arranged the entire thing. It took a real estate agent friend pulling strings, an early bonus from work I hadn't even told anyone about, and me skipping out on the vacation I had planned months ago. But I did it. I wanted her to start her marriage feeling seen. Instead, I got nothing. No text, no call, no email. Not even a mention when I arrived at the venue. Not from her, not from Tyler, not from anyone. It stung, sure, but I told myself she was probably saving the moment. Maybe she'd planned a sweet little tribute after the vows. Maybe she wanted to surprise me later. I was good at making excuses for people, especially people I loved. But then I heard Pamela laugh. It was near the cocktail bar. I wasn't supposed to be near it. My veranda seat didn't come with drink privileges apparently, but I needed to stretch my legs. She was standing with two other women sipping something pink and expensive when I overheard it. She bought them a condo? Oh darling, poor thing must think generosity fixes irrelevance. They laughed. One of the women, face lift too tight, laughed too loud, leaned in. Is it true she's single? Pamela nodded. Oh yes, one of those fiercely independent types, you know, the ones who send big gifts hoping to be remembered. I froze. She knew. She knew about the condo. My gift hadn't gone unnoticed, it had just been mocked. And my sister, she was there, she didn't laugh. But she didn't stop them either, she sipped her drink, eyes down. The same way she had during high school when bullies picked on me and I told myself she was just scared. Maybe she was, but fear doesn't excuse cruelty. I turned on my heel and walked straight back toward the concierge desk. The man looked up, startled. Can I help? Yes, I said, voice calm but low, the kind of tone I used at work when someone crossed a line and I needed to draw a new one fast. I need that envelope back. The one I left earlier with property documents. I'm the one who dropped it off. He blinked. Ma'am, I believe it's already been delivered. To whom? To Mrs. Pamela Gates, per the instruction from Mr. Tyler Gates. Of course, I forced a smile. Then I'll need to rescind the offer. Legally, immediately. I called my friend, the real estate agent. Told him to halt everything. Pull back the deposit. Void the contract. He didn't ask questions, just said, Are you sure? Absolutely, I whispered. I returned to the gift table, found their registry card, crossed out my name next to the condo. Wrote instead, gift cancelled. Generosity doesn't come with humiliation. And then, with the kind of boldness only heartbreak can birth, I walked up to the wedding planner. Can I please leave something on the cake table? It's sentimental. She nodded, distracted by a dozen moving pieces. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small box, the one that held the condo key. I walked into the main hall. No one stopped me. No one noticed. I approached the massive wedding cake, a 6-tier monstrosity of fondant and edible glitter, and placed the key box right on top. It looked almost poetic there. a little object filled with meaning now stripped of it. And then I walked out. My heels clicked against the marble. My heart thudded like a war drum. I didn't look back. Let them find the key. Let them wonder what it meant. Let them choke on it. You'd think walking out would have felt empowering, like one of those scenes in the movies where the music swells and the heroine disappears into the night, heels clicking, chin high, finally free. But the truth? I sat in my car and shook. Hands clenched around the steering wheel, I stared out at the luxury cars pulling up, watched people in gowns and tuxedos filtering in like they belonged to a different planet. I felt small. Not like a woman who'd just taken her dignity back, but like someone who'd just set fire to the last bridge she had left. For a long time I didn't move. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my sister. No name. Just the message. Did you really take it back? That's all she wrote. No why? No can we talk? No, I didn't know. Just a 5-word accusation, like I'd stolen something that was hers by right. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the Notes app and reread the letter I'd written her but never sent, the one I was going to leave with the key before Pamela intercepted everything. It said, "You once told me you were scared no one would ever see the real you. I saw you then. I still do. Even if now, you choose to disappear from me." I almost deleted it, but something stopped me. I started the car, then I turned it off, and I went back. I know, it sounds dramatic, petty even, but it wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about clarity. For years I let things slide, excused the silences, overlooked the forgotten birthdays, the passive digs, the shrinking space I was given in her life. But today was different. Today, I'd been humiliated for the last time. I walked back through the side entrance. Security wasn't paying attention, too busy dealing with a drunk groomsman passed out in the garden. Music swelled from inside. Laughter, toasts. I slipped in unnoticed. The cake table was now glowing under soft spotlights. Guests took turns snapping photos, and there, still sitting like a little curse, was the tiny box. Untouched. I made my way to the DJ booth. He was mid-song, but I leaned in, smiled sweetly, and said, "Bride's sister, emergency announcement." He hesitated, then nodded. I grabbed the mic. And for the first 2 seconds, all anyone heard was feedback, then silence, then my voice. "Sorry to interrupt, I won't keep you long." Heads turned, guests murmured. Pamela froze mid-sip, Tyler blinked. And my sister, her face fell. Not angry, not surprised, ashamed. "I just wanted to say," I continued, keeping my voice even, calm, too calm, "I hope this wedding brings you everything you ever dreamed of, even if that means pretending certain people never existed." Gasps. I didn't care. The gift I left on the cake? You don't deserve it. Not because you don't love each other. I hope you do. But because love that's built on cutting people out and laughing at their pain, well, that's not something I want to support. Someone, maybe the groom's cousin, tried to take the mic from me. I held it tight. "And to my sister," I said, looking right at her, eyes burning, "I saw you. I always saw you. And if you ever decide to stop hiding, you'll know where to find me, but not with a ribbon, not with a performance." I set the mic down gently, walked over to the cake, picked up the key, and tucked it back into my purse. No applause, no yelling, just silence so heavy it hurt. And then I left, for real this time. The messages didn't come immediately. Not after the mic drop. Not after I reclaimed the gift and burned what was left of the performance. No, they came slowly, like dripping taps in an empty house. First, a call from my mother, who hadn't even been at the wedding. "Rachel, what did you do?" she asked, her voice stretched tight with secondhand shame. "I reclaimed my dignity," I said. "Something this family stopped assigning value to." She sighed. That long, disappointed sigh she used to give me when I got detention or refused to wear heels to church. Then she hung up. A few hours later came the text from Tyler. "You embarrassed her. That was cruel." I laughed out loud. Cruel? Was sitting someone in the heat like an unwanted guest kind? Was letting your mother mock the one person who believed in your fiancé polite? Was pretending I didn't exist for months on end love? I typed back one word, "good," then blocked him. But the message that surprised me most didn't come from either of them. It came from Elise. Elise was an old college friend of my sister's, a bridesmaid. We'd only met twice years ago. But she reached out the next day, quiet, hesitant. And for the first 2 seconds all anyone heard was feedback, then silence, then my voice. "Sorry to interrupt, I won't keep you long." Heads turned. Guests murmured. Pamela froze mid-sip. Tyler blinked. And my sister, oh my sister, her face fell. Not angry, not surprised, ashamed. I just wanted to say, I continued, keeping my voice even, calm, too calm, I hope this wedding brings you everything you ever dreamed of. Even if that means pretending certain people never existed. Gasps. I didn't care. The gift I left on the cake, you don't deserve it. Not because you don't love each other, I hope you do, but because love that's built on cutting people out and laughing at their pain, well, that's not something I want to support. Someone, maybe the groom's cousin, tried to take the mic from me. I held it tighter. And to my sister, I said, looking right at her, eyes burning, I saw you. I always saw you. And if you ever decide to stop hiding, you'll know where to find me. But not with a ribbon, not with a performance. I set the mic down gently, walked over to the cake, picked up the key, and tucked it back into my purse. No applause, no yelling, just silence so heavy it hurt. And then I left, for real this time. The messages didn't come immediately, not after the mic drop, not after I reclaimed the gift and burned what was left of the performance. No, they came slowly, like dripping taps in an empty house. First, a call from my mother, who hadn't even been at the wedding. Rachel, what did you do? She asked, her voice stretched tight with secondhand shame. I reclaimed my dignity, I said, something this family stopped assigning value to. She sighed. That long disappointed sigh she used to give me when I got detention or refused to wear heels to church. Then she hung up. A few hours later came the text from Tyler. You embarrassed her, that was cruel. I laughed out loud. Cruel? Was sitting someone in the heat like an unwanted guest kind? Was letting your mother mock the one person who believed in your fiancé polite? Was pretending I didn't exist for months on end love? I typed back one word. Good. Then blocked him. But the message that surprised me most didn't come from either of them. It came from Elise. Elise was an old college friend of my sister's, a bridesmaid. We'd only met twice. Years ago. But she reached out the next day, quiet, hesitant. I know I shouldn't get involved, but I thought you should know. Pamela told your sister not to seat you in the ceremony, said it would ruin the aesthetic. Your sister pushed back. Tyler overruled her. She cried in the bathroom before the vows. I read the message 3 times. Then again, I didn't want to believe it. Didn't want to be the villain in my own story for acting too soon. But it wasn't apology. It wasn't action. She may have cried, but she didn't say my name once. Didn't step outside, didn't send a text, didn't defend me, and sometimes the silence hurts worse than the slap. I responded, thank you for telling me, but crying in a bathroom isn't the same as standing up for someone. Elise didn't reply. A week passed, then 2, then came the real fallout. The condo deal? Cancelled. My agent confirmed it had been relisted within days, the deposit refunded, and I donated it to a shelter for women who had no homes, no weddings, no fairy tale endings, but still kept their dignity. Social media? A mess. A filtered carousel of wedding shots went up, her smiling, him beaming, guests posing. I wasn't in any of them, not even the wide shots, like I had never been there, like I was never family. But the comments, that was the twist. Hundreds of likes. Then, where's your sister? Didn't she give you that insane condo gift? Is it true she walked out mid-ceremony? Not inviting your own sister is wild. They tried to control the narrative, tried to delete the worst comments, but the internet doesn't forget, and people don't forgive pretty pictures that hide ugly truth. Then came the final blow, a message request from a stranger. Hi, I don't know you, but I saw the wedding drama. I just wanted to say, I've been that sister, the one who gets left out, laughed at, erased. Your story gave me courage. I told my family how I really feel for the first time. Thank you. That one broke me. Not because it was sad, but because it was real. Because maybe, just maybe, being seen by strangers was better than being ignored by your own blood. That night, I took a long walk. No phone, no distractions, just me in the dark. And I made a promise to myself. No more making excuses for people who only remember me when they need something. No more shrinking so someone else can feel tall. No more leaving my heart on cake tables for people who'd rather eat in silence. 2 weeks after the wedding, I sat alone at a coffee shop downtown, where the playlist was too loud, the barista knew my name, and the world didn't care who had married who. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like freedom. No pressure to smile through gritted teeth. No need to keep the peace. No room left for apologies I'd never receive, just me. And a blinking cursor on a blank blog post. It started simple. My sister got married last weekend. I wasn't in the ceremony, I wasn't even allowed inside, but I was there, I watched, I listened, I learned. I didn't name names, I didn't need to. I wrote the truth, not to shame her, not to start another fire, but to finally, speak in my own voice, for no one else's comfort but mine. I hit publish and forgot about it, until I didn't. Because 3 days later, the post had over 70,000 views. People shared it, quoted it, pasted my words into Instagram stories with captions like, "This hit too close to home." Some told me they cried. Others told me they left toxic weddings. One woman said she drove 300 miles just to stand outside her sister's reception, only to turn around at the door. "I thought I was crazy," she wrote, "until I read your story." And just like that, I realized I hadn't burned the bridge. I'd lit a signal fire. Somewhere along the way, we're taught that being a good sibling means staying silent. Letting them go first. Not rocking the boat. But silence can become self-erasure. And I was done erasing myself for people who couldn't even carve me a seat. A few days later, my sister reached out, this time with more than 5 words. I read the post. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to stand up to them. I thought keeping things calm was better than making a scene. I didn't want to lose everything." I stared at the message for a long time. There was a time I would have replied instantly. There was a time when a simple "I'm sorry" from her would have undone everything. But not anymore. Instead, I replied, "I never asked you to make a scene. I just asked you to see me." She didn't reply, and that was okay. I wasn't writing for her anymore. I started a newsletter. Each week I shared stories, mine and others. Stories of people erased by their families, cut out of weddings, left off the holiday invite lists, talked over, quieted down, people like me. I called it The Uninvited. And thousands subscribed. I found my voice in the silence they left me with. I built a stage out of the ruins they thought I'd crawl away from, and every time I told someone, "You're not alone," I felt less alone myself. Now, when people ask what happened between me and my sister, I say, she got married, I got free. And that's not bitterness, that's truth. Some stories don't end with reconciliation, some just end. And others begin the moment you stop waiting for an invitation and start writing your own.